Is astrology a guide to aid us in mastering the universe? This is the Cosmic Community Podcast with Galactic Ambassador Stacey Dredd. This astrology report is for the week of September 17th. We are in it. It's the full moon Pisces eclipse day. I'm here within hours giving the messaging here. Pisces is a sign full of messaging. Pisces is the ultimate intuitive messenger of the zodiac. And so we'll be talking about the full moon eclipse, which is also a super moon, and a partial lunar eclipse. I just actually pulled up the times of when we can see the partial eclipse. It's just going to be a small portion of the moon that does get in the shadow there, but there will be something visible this evening, so we'll chat about that also if I can find the window. Yep, there we go. And later in the week we have the fall equinox. The sun enters into Libra, the Libra Equinox, which of course for folks in the southern hemisphere is their spring equinox, and so things turned around for those folks there. But here in the northern hemisphere where I live, we are moving into fall, and another planetary movement that day from Venus moving into Scorpio. So we'll chat about her deep dive there. But of course, the full meal deal and the big ticket event for the week is truly this full moon Pisces eclipse supermoon, which does start eclipse season. So we go through a portal here when we move from eclipse number 1, the full moon in Pisces, in this case September 17th, to eclipse number 2, and in this case is the new moon in Libra on October 2nd. And so when we move through between these two eclipses, we enter the eclipse portal, and incredible things can happen there. The show next week will be right in the midst of that, and I'll be talking about the slingshot effect of the eclipse, and we'll be in the midst of it. And for right now, we're just coming in to the energies of the kickoff, which is the full moon in Pisces, which here on the West Coast, the Pacific West Coast, is occurring at 7:34 p.m. And it's a super moon, and that means that the moon is closer to the Earth in its cycle right now, and so it's kind of like an egg shape. It's not fully in a circle in the orbit around the Earth. It's more of like an egg shape, and so it swings out further away, and then it'll come back in a little closer. It's at that time when it's real close in. So a full moon occurs when the sun and the moon are directly across from each other in the zodiac, and this is at 25 degrees and 40 minutes, so just about 26 degrees here. And this is the Pisces Virgo axis that we are working on here. We're actually closing up our work here with this Pisces Virgo axis, because what creates the eclipses is the interplay with the full and the new moons being close into the nodes of fate, the nodes of destiny, the lunar nodes. They have many names, and it's not an actual thing in the atmosphere. It is or in space rather. It's not a planet or an asteroid or an entity as a lot of others are, but what the lunar nodes are is they're a mathematical point where it's having to do with the moon and the sun and where they come together. And so where their orbits come together, rather. And so here we are, the full moon at 26 degrees of Pisces and Virgo, but the lunar nodes are still in Libra and Aries. And so what we have here is an out of sign eclipse where, and it's pretty wide too. The lunar nodes are at 7 degrees of Aries and Libra. And so that puts us over 10 degrees away, 11 to 12 degrees away in the zodiac chart, which is a pretty wide orb. But when you're dealing with eclipses that are so powerful, slingshots, portals, this is where things happen very quickly in our lives, and we have cosmic course corrections. Very fated things happen. We meet people that are very destined to be in our life. We also have events happen to us that are very fated in our life. And here the moon is close to the north node, and the north node is the one that we are working with here, bringing things into our life, bringing fated things in, and heading into directions, starting new things in our life. A big thing with North Node in Aries. There's just fresh initiation energy. If you want to initiate something, have a spark that starts the fire, that gets something going, that is North Node in Aries, and that is the energy that we're working most closely with here at the full moon in Pisces. And a full moon is all about our emotions. The moon is our mood, and the moon goes through each sign in 2.5 days. So our mood shifts pretty rapidly there with the movement. And here in Pisces, the most emotional sign of them all, also the most empathetic, and a very soft feminine energy here. This is the divine feminine. So here at the full moon, we're feeling expressive, we're feeling emotional, but we're also feeling very Pisces, which is all about surrender, and it's all about releasing and completing and submitting doesn't feel like the right word, but surrender to the divine here. In a certain way, we have the ultimate faith with Pisces energy because we have the closest connection to the divine and to spirit here with strong Pisces energy. So a lot of messaging coming through. I've heard to really pay attention to your dreams because the dreams are harboring a lot of messages here. The moon also in very close relation to the planet of Neptune, which is at about 28.5 degrees of Pisces and is the ruler of this energy. And so we have Neptune here within 3 degrees. We're going to be dreaming. We're going to be in touch with our intuition and the divine feminine. And it's really, really sensitive. There's going to be also 12th sign work going on here, which is endings, closure, completion, wrapping things up, transforming from one into the next, moving from one phase to the next phase. And also that includes then releasing the past, releasing the things that we've been through, releasing anything that we're holding on to, because that is 12th sign work right there. You surrender, you release, you give it away, you have faith, you surrender fully yourself here. And it can be really sensitive. You can feel like a big open nerve in this way, but it's faded with cosmic course correction time. The nodes of faith, the nodes of fate, boy, that is a Freudian slip. They really can be known as the nodes of faith also, because they work that way. So along with the strong Pisces energy here at the partial eclipse, here, let's just get those times real quick. So let's see, here in Central Oregon where I am, for those folks listening here, but it'll give you some idea. If you're somewhere closer on the West Coast or wherever you are, I can do the math. 7:44 p.m. is the maximum view for this partial eclipse, and it's a pretty small amount. It's literally just the top corner that's going to be a little bit reddened and shadowed there for 2 hours and 36 minutes from begins at 7:11, maximum at 7:44, and ends at 9:47. So there you go. And at this time with the full moon, we have some other aspects going on. Of course, there's always other aspects going on. I spoke about the nodes of fate. Well, they have some more interplay. The North Node in Aries, the South Node in Libra. Now, I'm not discussing the South Node in Libra too much right now. I gave a little Libra talk last show, how there's a little mini stellium going on there. There's some work going on in relationships. There's some South Node stuff going on there, which is all about release and endings on its own. But we're going to be talking about that one in 2 weeks. And as we approach it, there's going to be plenty of talk, and I'm saving that. But the nodes are in a square at this full moon with the planet of Mars. Mars is in Cancer at about 8 degrees and is a bit debilitated here, known as having a debilitation in the sign of Cancer. It's just not a place that it likes to be. Mars is a fire sign. Mars is our warrior spirit. Mars is a fighter. Mars is aggressive. Mars wants to go out and get things done. Cancer is a feminine energy. It's more receptive. It's more hanging back and having more of that surrender, more of the sidestepping. I mean, after all, Cancer is represented by the crab, so it's a sidestepper. Crabs don't move forward and back; they move from side to side. So there's a sidestepping to Cancer that Mars doesn't play with very well. Mars wants to just go somewhere and be there. And so anyways, Mars in Cancer is in a T-square with the nodes of fate. And this can be tough, but it's also, a square is active. It's asking us to take action on something. Mars in Cancer, I discussed again last week. You have to go back and listen to last week's show when I discussed Mars in Cancer a little more in detail, but just a little snippet. Mars is all about protecting the homeland. In Cancer, there is a sense of security and safety that Cancer needs. And when Mars is there, he's the big muscular one that's going to provide it. And be focused on that. When a planet is moving through a sign, they're focused on the characteristics and the things and the themes that make up that sign. And so Cancer here, very sensitive, but also the crab has the biggest part, the tastiest part is the claws, right? And those claws, when they get a hold of something, they tend not to let go. I've had them hanging all over my clothes and on my finger when I didn't want them, and they don't let go until they want to. And so crabs, they know how to get out and get what they want really quickly too with those strong claws. So there's something going on here where we're going to have to take action during this full moon, but it's going to be in a soft, sensitive way. It's going to be in a way that is almost defensive, because Cancer crabs, not really much of a fighter. They don't start a lot of fights like Mars, planet of Mars, is going to start fights. But here it's more of a defensive kind of fighting. So we're defending something here around this full moon, something that keeps us safe, something that keeps us secure, something that is fourth house, our home, our homeland, our property. Maybe there's something going on at home where we are trying to protect ourselves from something, or there is some type of need to create safety and security at home. So lots kind of to just think about there with yourself. What's going on? What do I consider my home and my homeland, and what keeps me safe? What keeps me secure? And kind of looking at those things, because as we move into the weekend, we start to feel a change of season. The sun is going to be moving into Libra. The fall equinox is at 5:54 a.m. exactly on September 22nd. And this brings some beautiful balance and harmony to the vibes here on planet Earth. This is a time that is known to be super duper sweet and delicious for nature and for the harmonics here on planet Earth. It really sets everything into balance when we have those 12 hours of light and those 12 hours of dark. Something very special happens, and we can take part in that. So make sure this weekend you are getting out into nature. You're putting your feet on the ground. I talked also last week, very retrospective here, talking about the past a lot. I'm going to release it after this full moon, I swear. But I talked about grounding and earthing a little bit. And I mentioned that I didn't really know much about the science of it. Well, Spirit wanted me to know that and bring it back to you, because I went on my Amazon Prime account to totally watch something else. And the very first thing was, boom, earthing. And I was like, oh, here it is. Here's my science. Let me check this out. It's amazing. There is peer-reviewed scientific articles, now 21 of them as of the time when they made this documentary about grounding and earthing. And you can do amazing things if you just spend a little bit of time in contact with the earth. It balances your electromagnetic energy and reduces inflammation by insane amounts. And so I'm not going to go on and on about that, but that was brought in last week, and then Spirit was like, yep, that truly is a thing. So get out there at this fall equinox. Put your feet on the ground. Anytime you're feeling weird, just go and get in contact with the earth. I'm a huge proponent of that now, especially after hearing a lot of that science. And the very same day, September 22nd, the fall equinox, we have the beautiful planet of Venus entering a new sign. She goes into Scorpio, where she does a deep, deep dive into relationships and all things love and money and value systems, where she dons her black leather. I've mentioned this in the past, and Venus is such a goddess, and when she moves into these different forms, as with any planet, like as I said, they focus on different things, and when Venus enters Scorpio, she definitely puts on her black leather, and she gets real sexy, but she also gets real intense. Scorpio has an intensity to it that can really bring about a lot of rewards if you can go there and you can do that with her. So just before she enters there, though, she's going to make a square with Pluto. So another transformative moment on the afternoon. She moves into Scorpio at 7:36 p.m. on the 22nd. So all during the day that day, we're in transformation. In the previous day, as she's squaring Pluto and finally pops into that fresh energy there in Scorpio. So big week. I love working with this type of energy. It feels so loaded to me. It could, if it is overwhelming for you, make sure that you're definitely getting out and getting fresh air and taking care of yourself, and just go Virgo on it. Just go Virgo and clean some stuff. And that always helps me feel a little bit better in my space for sure. So next week we'll be in the eclipse portal, and also Mercury entering a new sign, making contact with that 29 degree point. There's just been so much of those end degrees being stimulated, and so closure, wrapping up, endings, transformation, surrender, release. Whew. Lots of work for the week. So I hope that this was helpful, and I will be talking to you again very soon. Peace. Thank you for listening to the Cosmic Community Podcast. More can be found at kpov.org/thecosmiccommunity.